welcome again to my show, Searching for Integrity. My name really is John Smith, and I'm searching for people with integrity. Why? Because our country suffers from IDD, integrity deficit disorder. We have author today as our guest, Larry Grogan, and his book, A Tale, T-A-I-L, of Love. Life Lessons from Scrappy, a Pet Therapy Dog. And that's quite a book. I was flipping through it as best I could, that Amazon would let me do that. They won't let me do it. Anyway.
I'll take care of that for you, John.
Good. That's what you're for. Well, the first statement that I wrote down was an incredible animal that ever encountered Scrappy's natural ability to exude love was so powerful. It impacted the lives of most everyone she came in contact with. And I was able to peek a picture of her. You've got it behind over your left quarter, I think. So when did you first buy or save her?
Well, it's a little bit of a funny story, to be perfectly honest with you, John, even though it's a serious subject. But at the time, we were in upstate New York, where we lived. And Scrappy was actually owned by a young lady I was going out with. And she had a 4-year-old son at the time. And he was just too rough and too rambunctious for Scrappy. And so anytime he came into the room, Scrappy ran to me for a little protection and hide behind my back. And so when she and I stopped seeing each other, we both agreed that it was going to be in everybody's best interest that Scrappy come with me. So people ask if she was rescued, and I always say not in the traditional sense, but that's how Scrappy and I came together and formed our own bond and relationship and life together.
Right. Now, she was around 12 and a half years, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, 12 and a half years.
Right. It's for me, I've had a number of dogs. And the last one was a 12, 13-year-old Basset Hound. And it was just, we're crushed, but you got to get over the crushed part.
It's true, and it's obviously it's a very difficult thing. I mean, those of us, you speak of integrity, and I think if you own a pet, that speaks highly of you. There's something about people willing to take a portion of their life, put it to the side to help someone else or something else.
Right. No, that's very true. It was you probably didn't have to do much training with her.
Well, that's partially true. Scrappy, you said it very well at the very beginning. She was such a unique creature. She was one of those that craved my attention. If someone else gave her attention, that was fine. But she would do everything she could to make sure that I was happy. So the training was very simple from that perspective. She made sure she listened and paid attention. But when you become a pet therapy team, and that's important for your listeners to understand, there's two of you. There's you as the handler and your pet. You become a team. And there is very specific training associated with that. But the reality is the training to become a pet therapy team is not that difficult. It's really just a lot of obedience. And the biggest portion of that obedience is really making sure that we, the humans, communicate properly with our animal. so
Mhm.
that they understand what it is we're trying to get across. And so once you accomplish that aspect of it, the rest of the training becomes relatively simple. And we began our pet therapy career at that point.
Well, the thing about that for me is that it's for me it's an ongoing loss, and you just remember that, and
Yeah.
sometimes I think the dog's in the house, but then I think that there's other people in the house. Um, I'm beginning to think mediumship, I think it's called, and I'm going to have to do a lot more meditating for that, I guess I should say. Um, it's
Well,
have you been shopping yet, or can you give up your heart again?
I just did it.
Oh, congratulations. That's great.
I just did it. It was, excuse me, we're coming up on 4 years that Scrappy passed away.
Right.
And I just 1 month ago, just adopted little Angel. And
Uh-huh.
she's sitting over here next to me on the floor. She had a visit to the vet today and got a couple of shots. So she's not feeling real well, but she's
Right.
lying in her bed, very comfortable and getting some rest. But it was hard. It was really hard to make that decision. But I was speaking with someone early in the year,
Hmm.
and she made the comment that she had just lost a dog as well. And she and her husband had made the decision that they were not going to get another pet. She goes, a month went by, and then we understood that we simply need a dog in our life. And she made that statement to me, and it just resonated because I needed, a new dog in my life.
Sure.
And Scrappy, I've got Scrappy all around me. I've got pictures in front
Hmm.
of me, behind me,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
she's never going to disappear. She's never going to be out of my life.
Right.
But it was time to have that physical element again. And so I've been training Angel
Right.
to become a pet therapy dog as well. So she's got some time to go, but we are getting her to the point where she's already mastering some of the basic skills.
Right. Well, that's great. Wonderful. Um, it lays in in the future that we're going to graduate from kindergarten, and then we'll go first and second and third, and then
Well said. Yeah, well said.
we were asking our same thing. We bought a new house here in Arizona, and we looked at each other. And she says, are we going to buy a dog now?" And I said, "Well, let's think about it some more."
Yeah.
Um, Now the strange thing was about it, and you might think that I'm strange telling you about it, is that there have been I won't say umpteen times, but multiple. Uh, Something is whisking the hair on my legs down around between my ankle and my knee, and I look around. There's no bug flying around, and I figured out this dog. His name was Winston.
Hmm.
I've also read other stuff like that. That it's not just for people.
Well, I agree. And I'll be honest with you, I actually wrote in the book, there's a section in there where I talk about the fact that shortly after Scrappy passed away, I saw her shadow sitting right in the doorway where she always sat as I was getting ready for the day. It was the doorway of the bathroom. And as soon as I looked, it disappeared. But there's been other situations where I was lying in bed and she would lie in bed with us, but she always slept at the back of my knees.
Hmm.
And there was a very distinct crushing of the comforter onto the back of my knee one night.
Yeah.
And so I have no questions, no doubt, and not ashamed to admit. I think there are times when there are spiritual elements
Mhm.
that are with us. And I think that's part of the process as well. And it's just, I think it's a reaffirmation. And I think that's when I began to work on the book, I did it for myself. I
Right.
never intended to write a book.
Right.
But the writing became my therapy. It was
Yes.
my way of getting through this process, this grieving process. And it just evolved over the course of 2 years.
Right.
And I
Right.
shared it with a couple of friends, and one of them said, "You have to get this published." If she had
Yeah.
never said that to me, I never would have. But
Right.
that was just my way of dealing with the loss of Scrappy in my life.
Well, I can soak that up all day long. It's as it comes and when it comes, and somehow, some way, you know, God's still looking at us,
I agree.
and
Absolutely
yeah,
agree.
yeah. Some of them had when I had what one dog was a kidney dog. He died that. This was I don't know 10 years ago. In the same house, there was a Pomeranian. I had two Pomeranians. One of them outside, both of them outside, and within about 10 seconds, one of them was gone.
Mm.
And it was a coyote.
Oh my, yeah.
Took it right in front of me, and I didn't see it coming. So I took off barefooted, going across a golf course trying to find a coyote.
Mm.
So, stupid is as stupid does, I guess. That hurt a lot.
Yeah, you just never know. That's very unfortunate. And
Yeah.
we have them in our area as well. So anytime we go out at night, I have to be extremely careful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Interesting. Tell me about Eastern Tennessee.
Where I live is a small community called Johnson City. It's up in the northeast corner of Tennessee. We're about equidistance to Virginia and North Carolina.
Right.
But it sits right in the Appalachian Mountains. We're kind of on the valley side of the mountains, if you will. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
The people here are spectacular. I moved here from New York, and even though I
New
grew up,
York.
but I was born in North Carolina, and that was a transition I had to learn. That when people here say, "Where are you from?" or "Where did you move from?" I said, "Well, I moved here from New York." Sometimes that ended the conversation. So I quickly had to learn to say, "Well, I'm from North Carolina, but I moved here from upstate New York." And that was a little bit more acceptable.
Smooth it out.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. But yeah, even where we were in New York, the topography is very similar. I was at the base of the Adirondack Mountains in New York, and here we're at the base of the Appalachian Mountains. So from a topography perspective, it's very similar, and that's what I love. So it's a beautiful area.
That's great. Now, are you looking in the future to maybe not necessarily do another book on this dog, but are you going to take what you found and what people are telling you about? The reviews are good. Are you going to continue with that in another way on a second
Yeah,
book?
I don't plan to write another book. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. It was, I've got a lot of respect now for authors, and I
Mhm.
don't consider myself an author, because as I indicated, it wasn't my intention to sit down and write a book. This was
Mhm.
my soul coming out in a grieving process, is really
Mhm.
what it was. But through that, I've had the opportunity to get engaged with a couple different organizations, and they have opened up my eyes to opportunities.
Mhm.
And one of the things about pet therapy is that it has been medically researched to show that it does wonderful things when it comes to mental health. The research shows that endorphins get produced and hormones get produced that help relieve our body from stress, make us feel better. And that's really what pet therapy is designed to do, is just to take our minds off of whatever might be troubling us for that moment and put us in a much better place. And so one of the things I learned is that mental health on college campuses is an extremely troubling situation.
Yeah, there's a
If you
grenade in somebody's hand.
Exactly. And that, when you think about this generation of students, they've had to deal with just horrific situations. If, they dealt with COVID for a couple of years where they were isolated. They've had school shootings and unfortunately more school shootings.
Right.
And so as generation goes through, their schooling years, mental health is a real problem. And so when you speak with school administrators about pet therapy, the first thing they say is, well, we do that. And I said, you're right. You probably do it twice a year, don't you? And they said, yeah. I said, during exam times, right? That's correct. I said, you know what? That's the perfect solution. If you think students only have stress during exam times, what are you doing the rest of the year? And so now what we're doing is we're taking the experiences that Scrappy and I had as a pet therapy team and trying to introduce that onto the college campus by engaging their students, faculty, and staff who, number one, have dogs, secondly, have an interest in pet therapy, and third, would want to actually create their own pet therapy organization on campus,
Right.
so that they can have time every month, every week, whatever's available, for students to come by and hang out with these dogs and get the emotional support that the dogs are freely going to give. And so we've got a lot of trips and a lot of Zoom calls set up already where we're going to be speaking with some of these decision makers about how we can actually come to their campus and implement this program for them.
That's
So
outstanding.
that's what I really want Scrappy's legacy to be,
Right.
is to have that opportunity to share our experiences together so that people have a true understanding of what pet therapy is all about and the beauty of it, so that we can encourage more people to get involved. Because the reality is there are 20 million college students in the United States, approximately.
Wow.
But there's only 50,000 certified pet therapy teams. The numbers don't work. And so one of my goals is to quadruple the number, the number of certified pet therapy teams in the United States. Because the reality is they all look like you and I, a lot of gray hair.
Yeah.
So you've got one group that comes out and another one will come in, but we need to get a younger population of pet therapy teams interested and engaged and participating. And in order to do that, in my opinion, we can get that started on college campuses really quick. And it'll get those numbers up, and it will get the next generation of pet therapy teams involved. And one of the things I speak about when I go to campuses is the fact that when pet therapy people consider themselves volunteers, and that's true, we volunteer our time, but the reality is that we're philanthropists. We may not be writing a check, but we are giving an asset, our dogs, to the benefit of anyone that needs them. And so that in itself is an act of philanthropy. And so I'm trying to not remove the word volunteer, because it's an important word. I want to enhance it. And I want to enhance it with the term philanthropist, so
Mhm.
that people truly do understand just how significant an act this is going to be.
Well, it's not going to be easy, I'm telling myself, but it appears to me you've got it laid out. You're going to be a good tutor with that and training all the other tutors. Um,
Well, I hope so, John, because here's the other reality. There's 69 million dog households in the United States, which means there's more than 69 dogs, 69 million dogs, right?
right. Yeah.
So if I can get 1/2 of 1% of those 69 million dog
Right.
households to learn and take the time to understand what pet therapy is and how
Right.
significant it is, we're going to be well on our way. And with your assistance, with what you're providing me that opportunity today for, which I greatly appreciate, that's going to be one of the ways that we get it done. But we do have a plan, we've got a path, and we just have to be determined to get it done. That's it.
Well, I don't know that advertising it would help you much. Um, um, and do you search from the county pounds that where dogs and cats are there?
I search everywhere I
Yeah.
go. And in fact, with my business, I have to make business trips, but I tag along the pet therapy with it. So like I said, we've got just in the next 10 days, we've got 8 appointments on
Okay.
campus and off campus. And so once the nice thing about colleges and universities is that one sees success, they want to duplicate it. So what we're hoping is that when more and more universities get involved and they begin to contemplate just how beautiful a program this is going to be, the rest of them are going to stand in line, because at the end of the day, it's going to be part of their brand. This is going to be a
Sure.
university that truly cares about the well-being of your child. And
Hmm.
here's how we are going to prove that to you. And pet therapy is going to be part of that. I'm convinced.
I wouldn't be surprised. Um, and I'm wishing you the best of luck for that.
Thank you, John.
Um, tell us where my listeners can find your book.
Well, the easiest place is Amazon, of course. It's also available at Barnes and Noble.
Hmm.
So you can go to either location, whichever one you may prefer. And if you don't mind, this is the image that you're looking for.
Sure.
A tale of love, life lessons from Scrappy, a pet therapy dog.
Yep. That's good. Very good. I like it.
Thank you.
I think that part of this is this endeavor is chapter number 10 that you're going to need, and that's faith in in what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Um, and then you close out with a blessed life, and that's what that came to you, and you were lucky for that.
No
Uh,
question.
yeah, well, it is. Let's see. I have my famous adioso. Um, let me look at my notes here. I have to, of course, I thank my listeners for tuning in again. That's always nice. People like the searching for integrity part of it.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm looking back in the past. Whenever I say goodbye, it's so long and happy trails to all. Until we meet again.